डॉक्टर एस एच जैन साहब,
visible both, sir.
जी जी, डॉक्टर एस एच जैन साहब,
Yeah,
he is with us, sir. He is a very senior advisor here. Colonel Sanjeev Banerjee, he is the registrar of the university, and
okay.
other my team members, sir.
Good morning
Sir,
to
welcome,
everybody.
Dr. Joshi.
Wonderful to be with you all, and good morning to everybody.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Josna.
I feel privileged to have Professor Chandra Shekhar as our distinguished chief guest today. Professor Chandra Shekhar needs no introduction, having spent valuable years in the field of LSI, VLSI design and CAD. I may be permitted to give a brief introduction about his accomplishments, academic attainments, and his chosen field. Sir is Senior Professor Emeritus in Pilani and Chancellor Academic of Scientific and Innovative Research. He was ex-director CSIR SERI and established one of the best-known R&D groups in the field of LSI, VLSI design and CAD in the country. Under his leadership, the group developed country's first full custom dedicated LSI processor chip, the first semi-custom CMOS VLSI chip for digital telephone exchanges of CDAC, the first 16 and 32-bit general purpose processor, and the first application-specific instruction set processor. Professor Chandra Shekhar also played a key role in the formulation and execution of Government of India, Department of Electronics national initiatives in microelectronics research and education. Apart from this achievement, he bagged many prestigious awards in his name and has brought glory to the name of the institute. Ladies and gentlemen, we rarely get this kind of an opportunity to listen to the words of great personality like Professor Chandra Shekhar. So let us have the distinction of listening to him. It is my honor now to invite Professor Chandra Shekhar to address the august gathering. Sir.
Thank you, Ms. Jyotsna. Dr. Arun Saini, Mr. Kothari, all the distinguished members of the ICFI family from Jaipur, all the participants. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be with everybody for a brief while this morning and share some of the ideas that would be relevant for the QIP kind of program that you're organizing this morning. Let me begin by saying that 100 years before India's independence, that is in the year 1847, there was a very revolutionary change that took place at that point of time. It was generally believed that logical reasoning is a faculty unique to humans. No other living species probably do that kind of, elaborate logical reasoning that humans can do. And among humans also, there are, some very highly trained, intelligent, so-called intelligent people who can do sound logical reasoning. It is here that a self-taught mathematician by name George Boole, he started to, understand what is this logical reasoning. Let us get to the bottom of it. And he separated the linguistics part of it and represented the linguistic assertions by symbols. So, we always say, if it rains and my friends are there and a vehicle is available, or it is a holiday and some friends are available, then we will go for an outing. Looks, pretty complicated. He said, all these linguistic assertions like if it rains, now there are only two possibilities. Either it rains or it does not rain. So he said, let us take the assertion it rains, represent it, take the language part out, represent it as X. So X can be true or false. Similarly, if it is a holiday, so, you say holiday, it is either a holiday or it's not a holiday. So let us represent by Y, take out that long sentence whether it is a holiday. So like that, he represented what we were expressing in language using these what we now know as logical operators, this and that or not, and if. He worked out an arrangement. He just studied it algebraically using algebra-like symbols for assertions and seeing what kind of operations, how these are being done. And he came up with what we now know as Boolean algebra. That is, however complex a logic may be, it can be reduced by reducing the assertions, linguistic assertions, to symbols, and then operations being done on those symbols and their equivalences, and that's it. So he abstracted out the essence of logical reasoning and said, look, there are clear rules. Anybody who can understand these rules can do this logic. Nothing great about it. Something very important happened around 1915. People designed what we now know as logic gates, which means there could be mechanical or electronic systems that can do the basic logical reasoning. And then using Boole's algebra, you can build a circuit that will do a more complex reasoning. So basically reasoning was taken out of the realm of great human creativity and great intelligence, and it was reduced to something pure mechanistic, mechanical, that can be done by a machine. Because George Boole, took out the language part from it and represented it symbolically, and then this, he just gave some rules by which these assertions connected by or and not, they can always be manipulated to come to the result. So once people learned how to make a gate or a logical gate that can do an elementary logical reasoning, doing more complex logical reasoning was really creating a network of interconnections of these gates. And we have this conclusion that now logical reasoning is a purely mechanical thing. And as we know today, machines can do logic far more faster, typically 1 billion times faster than humans can do it today. Similarly, a very interesting development occurred when mathematicians, and particularly a person who is supposed to be the granddaddy of stored program digital computer, von Neumann, he said that arithmetic, if you try to do it based on number system based on a base of 2 rather than a base of 10, which we use every day. So we all know as engineers that you can represent a number either using a base of 10 or a base of any other number. And the most preferred base is 2 in electronics. Why 2? Because there are only 2. If you have a base of 2, then there are only 2 possible numbers, 0 and 1. And he proved that all the mathematics, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, that we do using base of 10, if we do it using numbers which are represented in base of 2, then all the mathematical operations also become logical operations. So there is a logic, you can express that logic, and so the arithmetic is no different from logic. So arithmetic can be done using the same logical reasoning that was proposed by Boole, for which he gave Boole's algebra. So logic and arithmetic got unified, and that is how we hear these days arithmetic logic unit, ALU. So earlier arithmetic was thought as something separate, logic was thought as something separate. These two developments, they said that arithmetic is also logical reasoning, and it's easiest to do it if you represent numbers in the base of 2, because then you can use George Boole's rules of logic straight away. And so your arithmetic circuit is nothing more than a logical circuit, and logic circuit is made of logic gates that somebody had designed in 1915, so you can now build. Another extremely important development was that, you do a lot of logical reasoning and all that. Now, if for each application you require to develop a new logic circuit, that takes time to design and cost to manufacture. That's expensive. So it is here that the idea of stored program computer came, and a single chip version of it was created in 1971, which we all know as microprocessor. So it is the 50th year of microprocessor. Thanks to Corona, we don't hear so much. Otherwise, it's an extremely important development. The 50th anniversary of invention of microprocessor. Now, what did the microprocessor do? The microprocessor was really a single chip implementation of the idea of von Neumann, the man who invented computer. He said, you can do any logic using Boolean algebra. Arithmetic is logic. He propounded that. And then he said, for every different logic that you want to perform, you don't need to rig up a new circuit, a logic circuit. You can have a central processing unit which can perform some standard functions which are called instructions. It can execute some of those instructions. And the specific logic of your application can be described as a sequence of those instructions. And those instructions can be kept, the sequence of instructions can be kept in a memory. So the CPU, central processing unit, can pull out instructions from the memory in the sequence. You write them in a right sequence, it will pull it out and execute, and you can implement any logic, which means now to perform any distinct logic, you do not require to rig up a distinct digital logic circuit. There is one simple universal logic circuit called CPU with a defined instruction set, and you describe your logic in terms of a sequence of instructions which are kept in the memory, and the memory and the CPU, they together make a universal logic circuit. So no new hardware needs to be developed for any application. That was a great development, technological development, because now any logic function can be performed on the same hardware by simply changing the sequence of instructions that you keep in the memory. And that is how the name software came, because you simply had to change the sequence of instructions that you store in the memory. That is the content of memory. Read-write memories, you can always change their content. So that's how the name software came for the logic that really is described with the help of a sequence of instructions. And the hardware is designed to execute those instructions one by one. Today, of course, they do them parallelly. And that's how any logic can be performed. Now, this really transformed the world in the sense that this is also the time when analog circuits were giving way and digital circuitry was coming. So whether it is telephone, whether it is fax, whether it is television, whether it is control system, analog circuitry was used everywhere in communication, transmission, reception, control. That was changing, and digital logic was taking place of the analog circuitry. So in this era, when the microprocessor came, people said, any logic can be implemented with a microprocessor. So let us write software for our, let us describe our logic that we need for control or for, any kind of transmission, reception, coding, whatever, photograph, picture, sound, audio, signals, what have you. So this was the, beginning of digitalization, and the microprocessor proved to be a very valuable kind of asset, because one shoe fits all. This one piece of hardware together with memory, and you change the content of memory, that's the program. You write a new program and your logic for that is up and running. And that's how we reached this particular stage. However, things didn't stop there. the performance of the microprocessor kept on improving. And it's amazing, really amazing, that in a span of 30 years, between 1978 and 2008, the performance of the microprocessors improved by a factor of approximately 1 million. So the microprocessor became roughly 1 million times more powerful, while its cost probably increased by a factor of around 50 or less than 100, let us say. So which means almost for free, you got a tremendous amount of performance enhancement that came by. Now, around this time, another very important thing was taking place. People said that while, logic and all this is okay, but can we have artificial intelligence? Can we have machines that can learn from experience? It is all right, you write a program for a microprocessor, the microprocessor does that logic repeatedly, it can do it very fast, all that is very good. But can there be machines that learn? They are self-learning. They become better as they get more data, they get more exposure. So the people who are working in artificial intelligence and machine learning, it has been an area of investigation for at least 60, 70 years. Earlier, it was, below the threshold. So only some crazy guys, typically, theoretical computer scientists or mathematicians, or maybe some physicists were looking at it. It was never close to market. But they were examining, trying to understand, doing the same thing that George Boole did. That what is this intelligence business? Can this be also mechanized? Can there be learning machines that learn, and not just machines that, perform something which they are pre-programmed to do? And it is these efforts over 60, 70 years that came up. And again, the inspiration was drawn from whatever proved understanding that existed at that time of human brains functioning. And that is how these so-called artificial neural networks and their derivatives, so CNNs, DNNs, all those kind of ideas were explored. And it turned out that somewhere like 10 years ago, they became mainstream technologies because now there was enough understanding and there was enough technology to support. So now you can do face recognition, you can recognize individuals in crowds, you can recognize the kind of gestures, and from that you can perceive threats. A whole lot of things became possible. That is underpinned, one, by the understanding of how to really figure out these things. And that is where, feature extraction originally was used, and then automatic feature extraction through convolutional neural networks and deep learning, DNNs, all those kind of things. So gradually the understanding improved and the whole area exploded, and people started using it. Its applications became, so today you really have many kind of machines that are, they can sense the situation. They are aware of the situation and they can act based on that. So and where this evolution goes further, of course, is anybody's guess. Of course, in this time, something else happened, that sensors and sensing technology became very commonplace. Sensors became miniature. They take very little power. All kind of sensors, whether these are acoustic sensors or these are image sensors or image sensors in different bands, or microwave-based sensors, pressure sensors, physical sensors, chemical sensors, gas sensors, all of them became available. And any output a sensor gives, you have a digital representation. So that digital representation was a great thing. Sound can be represented by digits as a binary string. Pictures can be represented. Sense, smell can be represented. Anything can be represented. Photographs, alphabets, whatever. So digital gave a unifying platform, and then they can be processed. And now you have an understanding of, launching on whatever understanding we had of the brain's functioning. We try to use and build engineering systems, taking inspiration from that. So that's where we are. But then people found that these, data-driven approaches where, also you find that now there are so many sensors and so much sensing happening everywhere and so much data coming in that it becomes difficult for humans to make sense out of it. As humans, our brains are wired for pattern recognition. We can recognize patterns very easily. That was very, very difficult for machines until very recently. But then the point is today, the amount of information is so overwhelming that our brain cannot just take it. Our senses can't just bring it. And so we can't make sense out of it. So today with so many sensors, Internet of Things, now things use internet, there is streaming of data from sensors all around, and to try to make sense of that situation and try to derive how situation will develop, that requires intelligence that acts much faster than humans and doesn't get bored. So that is where the machine learning, artificial intelligence systems come into place. Now, these systems again require hardware. So fortunately, that Moore's law, the number of transistors has been doubling very rapidly. Clock speeds have been doubling. Only recently they have begun to slow down, but they prepared the platform. And today you build machines which specially accelerate these artificial intelligence and neural network, CNN, DNN, or whichever other kind of, so today there are sort of, in a lighter vein, Guru Shishya networks where the learning of one network is transferred to another network, which is simpler. So all those kind of things, the hardware platforms to support these things have become available. So that is where we stand. So today, there are machines that can learn. Supervised learning can be there, unsupervised learning can be there, objective-driven learning can be there, automatic sensing and classification into patterns and learning from there takes place. Learning transfers can take place. So much more is actually going on. So the point is, this is typically what is now called the fourth paradigm. The first paradigm was where the humans, they try to basically theorize, our ability to see patterns was used to extract out general features from observations. So that, traditional Newton's seeing falling apple, whether he saw it or not, doesn't matter. But he, from there, imagined gravity. So essentially, earlier from observations, people figured out the commonality. They figured out the pattern and the behavior, and they classified it into theoretical concepts. Of course, they were tested and rigorously and then accepted. So that was the first kind of paradigm. The second paradigm was when computing got mechanized. So you could use machinery, and machinery could basically apply theory. So simulations became an important tool because you really don't need to build a system. You can build a mathematical model of a system, and using the mathematical model of a system, the models are so accurate that you can play with a mathematical model without actually making any engineering model. And you can optimize, try to tune the properties to what you want. And finally, you make only what you have optimized on the computer. And lo and behold, what you make exactly works like you had predicted it would work. So the power of theory to predict, but the application of theory required modeling, and modeling requires solutions. Solutions required computing, and this entire computing that evolved helped doing that. Okay, in this paradigm, we are coming to a situation where, seeing any complex behavior now is beyond the human capacity. So you need machines that can extract patterns and, behavioral patterns from a huge mass of data. We have this COVID stuff all around. How exactly does it behave? You and I cannot see it. It's not like, falling off an apple or seeing the, planets going around sun and figuring out that it is really GMM upon R square. There's so many variables, so many ways, trying to make sense out of it, trying to get a learning from it. Its data amount is so much, and trying to do it in real time so that you can use that learning. So that's where the neural networks, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and this whole class of technologies have really come in. So these are machine learnings that will, so really, believe me, there are physicists who believe that the next inventions in physics, in the next discoveries, the next discovery of some hidden underlying detailed principles of physics might come from a machine. Because now machines churn data, they get the data, they try to figure out patterns in it, they try to make sense of, and they might throw up something that we as humans have not thrown up from our imagination. So it is that part. And of course, as I said, it's extremely important that we have these machines which are situation aware and they can react to situations. And the applications are really everywhere, including some very, very, scary areas like having autonomous soldiers and autonomous machines that based on their own understanding, call it understanding, which I will call it situational awareness, but based on some understanding of the scenario and some authorizations they may have been given, they can take action autonomously. So there can be very valuable uses of this technology, and there can be, of course, as always, very dangerous uses of this technology. But it is an extremely important technology. There are no two ways about it. And therefore, in the country, we must master this technology. So the technology has the aspects of understanding these, even though they are algorithms, they don't look like algorithms because they are always presented as some kind of structures with neurons and synapses and information flowing and weights and thresholds and stuff of that kind. But at the bottom of it, they are algorithms. They are algorithms that modify themselves. So they are self-modifying algorithms. As they learn, they modify by probably tuning the weight or pruning the network, figuring out how to do it more efficiently, where to give, a finer resolution to weights, where to make the weight resolution crude to, simplify computation, all of that. But it is an extremely important sort of thing. And these are being used to model biological systems. Biology is the last frontier. We all are concerned about our health. So there is so much of so-called systems approach in biology. So modern biology, in a very large matter, is really like now studying human body and functioning as engineering systems. So you're using engineering approaches to understand biological phenomena. So systems biology and the modeling of biology and trying to see how things operate, that's something again very, very important. And so much of this, so-called data science approach is coming in there. So I'm extremely happy that we have this event at AcSIR. I'm sure there would be a huge benefit to everyone. Let me say that as a researcher, lifelong researcher, I feel concerned that we have been a little late starters in this area. Our northern neighbor has actually not just stolen a march over us, but they have stolen a march over the world. And as I said, it is very difficult to say where this technology can find application, but it is a game changer. It is a game changer without a question. Finding application for good, bad, ugly, everywhere in the best of possible scenarios and worst of the possible scenarios. Therefore, it is extremely important that we master this technology. We master the platforms over which this technology runs. We master the applications where this technology can be used, and we sort of bring ourselves quickly, in quick time, at par and begin contributing in a major way in this area. So I'm sure that this would be an occasion and opportunity for everyone to get to know each other, get the ropes on from experts in that area, so that one can build up and pick up one's understanding of that area, and then figure out where one wants to apply that and try to build application systems around that. So I wish ICFI and I wish the organizers all the very best. Wish all the very best to all the partners. I'm sure they would be eager to lap up all that the experts have to deliver to them. So without taking any more time, I must thank you, Arun, for giving me this opportunity to be part of this event in a brief way and share my own perception, learning as a researcher with everybody. So thank you very much. All the very best for the course.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to welcome today's guest of honor, Mr.
Josna,
Deepak
just a minute.
Mathur,
Josna, just a
Director.
minute. Josna, just a minute. BC sir,
Okay,
कुछ
sir.
बोलना चाह रहे हैं? Just a minute.
Professor Shekhar, sir, it was my privilege to have listened to you. I, being absolutely simple layman, understand nothing about AI and machine learning, etc., etc. But you made me to understand, and you made me to believe that what I have missed in my life. I have been professor in management, managing all except this technical part. So I do offer my sincere gratitude for having made it so simple, so interesting, and so much. I wish I could have a professor like you who could have made me a true technocrat and could have fallen into your footstep. Number two, sir, I wish, what would you like to suggest young faculty members? Because they join the organization with great hope and enthusiasm, right? After some time, they lose their interest in continuing research and start doing all work except research. You understand what I mean to say? So how to keep maintain their interest so that they can discover something better? Because I always believe the life offers better opportunity every next day, every next time. And third, how to approach masses. I believe, sir, technology is one which should change millions. It should not be privilege of few handful only. If it has to be people's technology. And finally, my humble request would be, sir, whenever you happen to be in Jaipur or this part, give us a chance and visit our campus so that young students who are not so privileged to be a student directly can have an opportunity to listen to you, can guide my faculty members, and of course, can do bless our organization, sir. Thank you, sir, for your nice words spoken. I'm indeed beholden to you. Your scholarship is indeed beyond my comprehension.
Thank you, Professor Kothari. Thank you so much for your kind words. To the younger faculty, I would only say that, to be curious is to be living. The moment you lose your curiosity, I suppose life becomes totally mechanical. You lose the fun of living. So keeping curiosity alive is really researching. It may not immediately be the cutting edge research because we may not always have the facility for that or the environment. The environment and facilities do matter a lot. but everyone can keep the curiosity alive and keeps on working, moving up. That's absolutely possible for everyone. And it does take some time, but slowly things start falling in place. And, we begin contributing in a substantial way or in a major way. So it is curiosity and persistence. Those two things, they are the crux, they are the root around which then support, help, finances, projects, they start falling, joining in. So I would say that that's something that is dependent on an individual, and everybody should begin from there. And I would personally be very happy to visit ICFI Jaipur whenever I visit Jaipur. Thank you for your invitation, and all the very best to ICFI and all the very best to the program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It's your blessings.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So Arun, you will permit me because I have another commitment and I will need to move out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So thank you
Please, sir.
so
Thank
much.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, I would like to welcome today's guest of honor, Mr. Deepak Mathur, Director IEEE R10 Asia Pacific. He was IEEE India Council Chair